I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. The children of Newtown, Connecticut are going back to school, and the nation is watching what would otherwise be an unremarkable event. After Friday's massacre, attention and security are high. Now, while there is some concern, resolve is strong.
A little bit worried because we know what we thought was a secure school had this happen to them.
Children have to get back to school. If we let this sort of terror in our lives anywhere in this country win, we've lost. We've got to get our kids back to school again.
Unfortunately, we're living in this world where sometimes evil prevails sometimes, but we're just believing that good will overcome this.
Now, schools throughout Newtown were closed yesterday so teachers could be trained to handle the aftermath of the killings. Meantime, Sandy Hook Elementary School, the scene of the crime, remains closed today, and it may never open again. Trucks are moving the school desks and supplies to nearby Chalk High School, where the youngsters will eventually resume their studies.
When the children come in, whenever the school is started, they walk into a classroom that looks as close as possible as their classroom that they left.
Getting all of Newtown back to before is a bigger task, as signs of the day that changed everything are everywhere. Angels line the roadside and flags fly in memory of the 26 victims. 27,000 people live there. Now the main street is crowded with media trucks and strangers. One resident away from the crowds is helping his neighbors and remembers.
My son served in Afghanistan, and when we came home, he wanted the flags. So we had the means to fly it at certain occasions, and it's for my son. We came here yesterday around 11 o'clock, set the flag up for the people of Newtown, and people just started dropping off teddy bears, gifts, flowers for the families, donations for the funerals. We've been dropping the money off to the St. Rose Church, and it just keeps growing.
Well, if this Newtown nightmare has any redeeming value whatsoever, it is to remind us to hug our children a little tighter, to love them evermore. And that's what some folks did today for the children found at the center of another story associated with the name Sandy, Hurricane Sandy, and the children of Breezy Point.
We're at Russo's on the Bay, located in Howard Beach. We're serving the local community. The schools, St. Helens, St. Camillus, St. Francis de Sales, Ave Maria Academy, and we're here with the kids to give back for them for Christmas.
I ate some hot dogs and some chicken fingers and some mozzarella sticks. It's a big party for all of our schools. I feel really good. I love Christmas because you get presents and you always get candy.
We wanted to make sure that the kids had something to look forward to, especially after Hurricane Sandy. A lot of these kids were affected.
Sadly, there are still some families who are not in their homes, and some of them still have no heat and electricity. So this was great for the children to feel something they should be enjoying every minute of.
We were relocated in one school, in Good Shepherd School, and then the diocese gave us St. Simon and Jude. And I think when the children came together with their own teachers, they felt comfortable, and it really has been a healing process for them.
And as our nation mourns the loss of angels touched by tragedy in Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, Russo's on the Bay in Howard Beach honors the life of angels here, touched by a tragedy not so long ago in Hurricane Sandy. But today, there's no talk of disaster, there's no talk of lost homes or lost lives. There's only happiness among the children as they await Christmas and enjoy their time here.
You could scan the room and see the face of these kids, and they're just so happy and so innocent, and just what they went through with the storm. And you don't know how many of them lost their homes or are displaced, and to have them here and be able to enjoy just the company of each other, it's a great experience to be a part of.
Children are something special. We have Angels on the Bay, which I've been doing for 18 years, raising money for children. That's what it's all about, is our children. And just to try to bring some type of sanity after something like this, I think is what was needed.
this year being able to do something like we are today just brings a lot of energy and excitement to the building, to the neighborhood, to the children that were affected by Hurricane Sandy.
I think our wish came true today. We see 1,300 kids smiling, laughing, and singing Christmas songs. Now we can hope they take that cheer back to their family, and each of them can smile, laugh, and enjoy themselves as a family this year.
My wish is that God protects our children, and no matter what happens in this world, we know that God is with us always.
Well, comforting the children in Newtown remains so crucial, and so many parents, teachers, and friends are at work doing their best. Now, more help coming to town from hundreds of miles away.
9 golden retrievers on the march, making their way into a recreation center in Newtown, Connecticut for an emotional rescue to help comfort the children who survived the attack at Sandy Hook Elementary and other children in town. Therapeutic canines were sponsored and trained by Lutheran Church Charities, transported in a van for a 900-mile ride from Illinois.
Let me give you a quick introduction to all the dogs here. This is Chewy. This is Ruthie, Abby, Prince. Look at the name, Luther. Maggie, Hannah, Barney, and Shammy. These are the comfort dogs. And what is a comfort dog?
A comfort dog is one who brings comfort to other people when they're suffering or hurting, or bring happiness to people, helps people process their grief. So
they're specially trained?
They are specially trained. These are all trained service dogs, but we don't use them with disabled, but we use that training, and then we train them additionally to work with all different age groups and people. To some people, and we've seen this with children, it brings a sense of calmness in a time of confusion for them during this period. To some, it helps them process their grief. They'll start crying and they'll hug the dog. And to some children, they'll come up sad and they'll walk away happy.
Do you know that Luther is incapable of being mean? Luther is a friendly dog.
Well, Hayden loves dogs.
When does training begin to be a comfort dog?
5.5 weeks. We buy puppies at 5.5 weeks and turn them upside down and how their temperament is. And from that point on, we
But you turn them upside down, so if they are turned upside down and they flail, they can't be a comfort dog.
Right. Our initial screening is if they can be relaxed in that position. Then we start the next process, which is a trainer that works with them one-on-one for the next 8 months to a year.
And where else have your dogs been? What other disasters?
Our dogs, a month ago when Sandy hit, we were out in New York and New Jersey. We have been in Indiana with the floodings. We had dogs out in Joplin, Missouri. Come here. This is Luther. He's a comfort dog. You can pet him. It says right here, please pet me.
How do you feel when you see a child come up to one of your dogs who's been in this kind of situation and have a big smile on their face?
Cheers. they smile, I cry.
And amid the continuing sadness here, there were a lot of smiles.
And there are so many stories from Newtown that sear into our memories. Now, one about a 6-year-old girl. She survived the shootings by pretending to be dead. Her pastor, who won't identify the youngster, says she was the only survivor in a class of 16. The pastor says when she was reunited, the child said, "Mommy, I'm okay, but all my friends are dead." Welcome back. The whole world knows what happened in Newtown, Connecticut on Friday. What we don't know is why. Police are examining evidence seized from the home gunman Adam Lanza shared with his mother Nancy. He killed her before attacking Sandy Hook School. While we await the definitive report from police as to why evil erupted, rumors swirl. And friends of Nancy Lanza are speaking out.
I've seen a lot of things in the media about her being this survivalist wacko, and that was not her at all. She was, she did have guns, which she used very responsibly. She went shooting with a mutual friend of ours who's a retired New York City police officer. So, you know, he taught her how to shoot. She was very responsible with the gun. She was a very responsible person in general, especially in terms of safety.
Nancy's friends insist she was a good person, devoted to caring for her son, but the guns she owned now are the focus of a renewed national debate over gun control. Cardinal Sean O'Malley of Boston describes the massacre as a tragedy of almost biblical proportion and a clarion call for new gun laws. And with the expectation that new legislation will eventually pass Congress, sales of the rifle used by Lanza are surging. The Bushmaster AR-15 is semi-automatic, meaning one bullet per trigger pull. The average clip holds 30 rounds. One gun dealer can't keep the weapon in stock.
People want to get them before the government imposes any restriction, and they're buying them up in record numbers right now.
How many rounds can this fire per second?
How fast can you pull the trigger?
The gun is the most popular rifle in America, 1.5 million made in the last 5 years. But now we are learning a new owner will be responsible for future models. The current owners are putting Bushmaster up for sale because of the murders in Newtown. And if there is to be new gun control measures, Congress will have to act first. Yesterday, members of the U.S. House of Representatives paused in silence to remember the victims of the shootings. And in the Senate, Majority Leader Harry Reid called upon his colleagues to do the same.
I now ask that the United States Senate observe a moment of silence to honor the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School tragedy.
Meantime, two key political figures are calling on Congress to write new gun laws. Dannel Malloy, the governor of Connecticut, the home to Newtown, and a senator from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, who's surprising many since he's a well-known gun advocate. First, Malloy.
Do I think Washington, D.C. needs to get its act together and enact stricter gun control laws at the federal level? You bet I do.
We had 20 beautiful babies that were slaughtered. That cannot be tolerated in America. So does that not bring us to the table? Have we such a toxic atmosphere, a political toxic atmosphere, that we can't sit and have a mature, intelligent decision and look at things and make sure that we too protect the Second Amendment to the Constitution, which I will, as fervently as I've ever. I'm a proud member and I will always be. But with that, I'm also a responsible parent and grandparent.
According to reports, President Obama is planning to propose new gun control legislation soon. Up next, a man of Brooklyn who served us all, as Currents continues after the break. Welcome back. Frank Macchiarola, a man of Brooklyn who accomplished so much for our city and our church, has died. His most prominent public role was as Chancellor of New York City's public schools. Former Mayor Ed Koch calls him the finest ever. Pope Benedict earlier this year bestowed upon him the papal honor of Knight Commander of the Holy Order of St. Gregory for his devotion to the church. At the time of his death, at the age of 71, Dr. Mack, as he was known, was Chancellor of St. Francis College in Brooklyn. He graduated from there. Some years ago, Dr. Mack spoke with our news director, Ed Wilkinson, about what he found at St. Francis after so many years in public life.
Your relationships tend to deepen, and you begin to understand what life's about and who your friends are and what you want to do in life. And I think any size stage is a right size if you're playing the right role. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I've been happy. I've never had an unhappy day in my life. Mm-hmm.
Bishop DiMarzio, the Bishop of Brooklyn, says Dr. Macchiarola was motivated by his deep Catholic faith and love of Jesus Christ and praises him as a model Catholic layman. The bishop will celebrate at the funeral mass to be held at St. James Cathedral Basilica on Friday. Meantime, at the Vatican, the Holy Father met with Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority.
Good to see you. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here again.
Abbas and the Pope previously met at the Vatican in 2011. The Pope used this new occasion to call for renewed peace talks between Israel and Palestine. The two repeated their support for the UN resolution upgrading Palestine's membership. Both the U.S. and Israel opposed the UN's move. The leaders also discussed the contributions Christians can offer in bringing peace to the region. The Holy Father's Christmas card features a reproduction of one of the paintings that hangs in the papal apartment. The artwork by a 16th century Italian artist shows the adoration of the baby Jesus by the shepherds. Written inside, the Latin verse, "Truth shall spring out of the earth." Pope Paul VI is expected to become Venerable Paul VI on Thursday. That's when Pope Benedict is expected to approve the findings from the Congregation for the Causes of Saints regarding Paul's heroic virtue. The next step would be beatification once a miracle attributed to Pope Paul is approved. Under investigation, the birth of a California child after doctors recommended abortion, saying the baby could not survive. Today, the 15-year-old is very healthy. If Paul is beatified next year, it would coincide with the 50th anniversary of his election to the papacy. Another cause for the sainthood is not as far along as Pope Paul's, but Brooklyn native Dorothy Day does have a forceful champion.
So there was sexual immorality, there was a religious search, there was a pregnancy out of wedlock and an abortion. Life, of course, like Saul on the road to Damascus, was radically changed when she became introduced to Jesus Christ and his church. And after that, she became an apostle, an icon of everything wrong with what she did before, and with everything right about the dignity of the human person and the sanctity of human life. One of the required canonical procedures for causes of canonization is this: consultation with the bishops on the advisability of initiating a cause of canonization.
All those in favor of supporting moving forward, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I believe it can.
Thank you. Good to hear. All right.
Now that doesn't technically move her canonization any further along, but it represents the fact that this is not just the initiative of the Bishop of New York, but in a way that he is acting on behalf of a consensus of the American bishops representing the American church.
I had an inkling that this was going to happen. So it wasn't terribly surprising. But it is really quite astounding in itself that bishops who are divided on so many issues in a church that's so polarized can find something in Dorothy Day.
I certainly have mixed feelings about how the church utilizes people in some situations, but I'm joyful. I'm very joyful, and I think that she is, truly a saint for our times. And I love to hear stories about how the Cardinal's face lights up, and she touches so many of us that way. Her story is just such an incredible, beautiful story, and I think it's very important to share it.
This paper would promote the social teachings of the church. Secondly, there should be houses of hospitality that would provide, for the immediate needs of people.
I think it's very important that the church realize what a prophetic and holy person she was, so that it shares this knowledge with future generations, and that it even takes to heart in our times what she was trying to tell us. And I say prophetic because I think she really went to the heart of the scriptures and then tried to interpret those in our time.
I don't think it's fair to say that there are people within the Catholic worker who are opposed to her canonization. I think there are those who are indifferent and feel that it's not important, at least not important for the ongoing work of the Catholic worker. And they would be content to allow the church to go forward and do whatever it feels is called for.
A person isn't canonized in order to heap honors upon that person. It's not, wasn't she fine? The idea is to present an authentic example of Christian discipleship for this place and this time. And we sure need that in our church today.
Up next, some reflections after the break. In troubled times, music, especially sacred music, may often be the source of comfort and peace. That's why tonight we take you to Queens and 2 high school choirs together, offering us something beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
We are at St. Matthias Parish in Ridgewood in Queens. We were performing a service of lessons and carols, an Advent service. The St. Matthias Concert Choir was joined with the Christ the King choral group.
We've been doing this for about 3 years, and we were asked to do so, and we couldn't deny such a wonderful opportunity to work with such a great choir.
We practiced for almost 4 months for this, and I felt it went very well, so I'm very proud of what we did today.
The schools have a very long history of connection being in the same community.
The voice came from heaven. You are my son, the beloved. My favor rests on you.
When I was singing, I felt like we were giving back to the community, and during Christmas especially, giving Christmas songs, it adds a sense of holiday time to the season.
We have a tremendous rich heritage that goes back 1,000 years, and we really must bring this to our children so that they pass it on to the next generation.
Music is the lifeblood of the church. Sacred music has been performed for centuries, and prayer is in itself music. Music is prayer.
I feel like it brings messages farther and closer to people. You know, a lot of people are more moved by music instead of just words.
When I sing and when I listen to music, I know that there has to be a greater power. You can feel the presence of God.
We went from Gregorian chant through the 16th, 17th century up to 20th century, actually. So we spanned the entire gamut of classical church music.
I think music's very important. It speaks to people in different ways that maybe the scripture might not, so it adds a different feeling to it almost.
If you sing out your feelings, if you express yourself to the Lord in song, you have not only the opportunity to open your heart before God, but other people may be engendered by that same thought, by that same feeling and inspiration.
You know, here at Current, we cover a lot of stories, some good, some bad. A lot of us have been doing this for many, many years, and most of us thought we had just about seen and heard it all. But nothing. No matter how many years of experience one may have reporting or producing the news, no matter how steeled you think you've become to the dark side of some people, nothing can ever prepare you for Friday's tragedy. We all lost something on Friday, and we mourn and pray with our brothers and sisters in Christ.